In this one, I'm going to be taking you through the four biggest lessons that I've learned over the last week when it comes to social selling and generating business online in 2022. This has come off the back of a number of different calls that I've had. It's come off the back of the webinar that we've just ran recently, which you can find the link to in the description. But they're really, really crucial for you to understand if you want to start seeing practical, consistent results from the time that you're spending on social media right now. And the first one is all around the term consequence messaging. Now, consequence messaging is something that I haven't spoken about a lot before on this channel, but it's the thing that for me is separating the great social sellers and the poor social sellers. It's a way of framing your message so people start to really get what it is that you do, and more importantly, how you help them. This stuff is quite simple in concept, but when I then start to question people on conversations that we're having, it just seems that people don't quite go to the depth that they need to be able to get it right inside of their content, inside of their profile, inside of any assets really that they create. And it's quite a simple process to be able to uncover it. And you're probably this close. To give you an example, I was speaking to a guy that deals with some quite complicated software. It's like cloud-based software. I literally have no idea what he does. And I looked at his profile and he basically said, I am this software, and then the word expert next to it. And he went on to say, we help this company collect data and collaborate. It's kind of like the wording that he used. Now, there's nothing wrong with that, but it could be so much better. And as an ideal client, if I was positioning myself as his ideal client, I'm kind of sitting there going, well, that's great, but why the F do I care? And that question, I think, is sometimes the one that as creators, we don't tend to answer. And it's probably the most important one to go and answer. So I want you to have a look at your profile. I'll load it up now. Load it up next to this screen as you're watching this video. And I want you to ask yourself on LinkedIn or any other social media platform, really, what does your headline say? Does it tell me what it is that's going to happen to me if I don't solve the problem that you as a business owner solve for me? Does it tell me the consequences of not solving or plugging the gap that you can plug? If it doesn't, then I think what we need to do is just take a sit back and work out what those consequences are. This is actually a piece of homework that I set a lot of people off the back of calls. And it's literally get out an A4 piece of paper and just write down all of the consequences that your customers are going to experience if they don't solve the problem that you solve. It's really, really easy. When you know what the consequences are, when it comes to creating content, you can pick one of them and say, this will happen to you if you don't solve this problem. Here's a little bit of content. On your profile, when people come to it, you can have in your about section, we solve and prevent this consequence from happening, this consequence from happening, this consequence from happening. And we do it by doing this, 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 and this. Contact us if you want to find out a little bit more about how we do it. Now, there's a bit more to this, but it's probably the biggest lesson that I can teach right now in regards to if you can just switch your messaging to focus in on those consequences and start openly talking about them, that will be a big shift in the way that people see you online, and then start wanting to proactively work with you because you're giving them a reason why. So powerful, but I just don't hear many people talking about it. Now, I've just said it, and I hope it helps you. Number two is not committing to becoming a better creator. Now, in this online world that we're in, I can't tell you how important it's becoming to be able to communicate online right now. Look, I mean, I'll be honest, it's probably taken me, I think, about 16 different takes to be able to get to this point in the video. Now, I could have just sat back and given up by this point, but I'm really trying to craft my skill in online communication. So one, I can add value to you. And two, you will then reach out to me because I'm highlighting things that you probably didn't realize before. And now you want really serious help with. And this is where this whole process works. The problem that I see is that most people, when I'm having conversations with them, either in person or on Zoom, I can see how amazing they are at what they do. In fact, I was speaking to a lady yesterday that does data collection and email lists. She sells email lists. That's her business. Incredible business model. And I was speaking to her and she was absolutely bloody bonkers, full of energy, bouncy, bubbly. Literally, you could see how much she loved what she did. But you looked at her website and then you looked at her content and it just showed none of that. It really showed how boring their business was. And when I asked her quite point blankly, it was like, look, is this something that you're proud of? Is this actually representing you as a brand? The answer was no. And it was the breakthrough moment for her to now start making the changes needed to start being able to showcase the best version of her online that she possibly could. So again, the second task for you to do inside of this episode is to sit there and ask yourself, are you currently showing up as the best version of yourself online, or are you showing up as the most boring? It's quite hard to really accept, but actually the moment you do is the moment then you can commit to becoming a better creator, and from there start getting better. Imagine if every single piece of content you put out was you at your most energetic, your most passionate, the best you could possibly be. And your dream clients then come to look at your profiles, come to look at your websites, and they see it and they're like, boom, that's the business that I want to work with. What difference is that going to make to the way that people perceive you online? And in turn, the business that you're going to generate off the back end of it. Number 3 applies to how we have gone about generating hundreds of leads every single week without spending a penny on advertising. And it all comes down to the workshops that we run, which I've mentioned before. You can check out the link to one down in the description. I think that's the second time I've said it now. Let's see how many times I can say it inside of this video. It's a great one to go and watch. But it applies to how we fill those workshops. And we're utilizing LinkedIn events right now really, really well. But here's the thing. I have spoken about LinkedIn events before on my channel, but people seem to think that just by creating one and mass inviting people, that people are just going to show up. Unfortunately, that's just not the case. And there is some legwork that you've got to do. Number 1, you do have to invite people. That's critical. Number 2, you then do have to normally proactively reach out to that person and send them the details, which is the Zoom link or the GoToWebinar link, whatever it is that you're looking to use. Number 3, though, is the most important bit. And it's having the event be something that these people actually want to attend. So with any of my workshops, it is the 3, the 5 steps, whatever which one I decide to present at the time, to generating inbound leads on LinkedIn. So if that person that sees that event and gets the invite wants to come to an event that shows them how to teach inbound leads, they connect with it and they're drawn to it above anything else. Now, you need to get really specific on what your ideal clients want. So again, I'm going to keep saying it. Put yourself back in your ideal client's shoes and ask yourselves, what is it as an event? If you are a coach, a consultant, or an agency that uses workshops, what workshop can you put on and the title that people really want to attend and come to? LinkedIn events are so powerful. I'm yet to find a social media asset or tool that generates more leads for us than LinkedIn events. They're insane. So if you're not using one, start using one and start building your network up of your dream clients, get inviting them to those events and make sure the workshop that you put on is smoking hot so people really want to attend and turn up. And the final one is all about the sales process that you're going to be taking people through. So social selling is from the moment somebody finds out who you are all the way through to the moment somebody signs a contract or buys a product, right? That's the process from A to Z. Now, a lot of the stuff that I've spoken about on this so far has been almost from 0 to 85% in a pipeline. This last section is going to be the last 15% that enables you to get people over the line. And this is where I spent a lot of time speaking with clients about recently. And the point is all around the conviction in your messaging when you're speaking to clients. So whenever you're on a sales call, whenever you're on a workshop, whenever you're having any form of conversation around what you do, I want you to ask yourself how much you believe in the solution that you're providing. And then moving forward, ask yourself whether you really are truly connected to wanting to solve that person's problem. This is sometimes where, whenever I'm working with any of our academy students, sometimes I have to give them a little bit of a shake, because whenever I'm having conversations with them, they're like sitting back like this and they're like quite flat. And they're like, yeah, well, it's really, really good. I'll do this and I'll do that. And the problem is, when you're doing this and you've got this sort of body language, nobody's going to really believe in what you're saying. The aim of sales and the aim of really becoming a master social seller is when you have a conversation with a customer to be able to communicate how much you want to solve that problem for them, and the real journey that they're going to go on and the opportunity they're going to be able to grab hold of by solving that problem. Sometimes you have to really be quite bullish. Sometimes you have to really make people realize what it is they're missing out on by not solving the problem. And I've seen so many different examples of this just recently, where people have just slightly changed the way that they're believing in their services. And then from that, they've had transformational results in terms of their conversions. What they found is that they were being quite timid. They were being quite cautious. They were actually really waiting for somebody to say no to them. That's what they were expecting going into a call. Someone just to say, no, I'm okay, thank you. And they'd set their expectations to, if they get a no, well, that's kind of where I was kind of planning on getting to. They're not preparing for a yes. And what I want to do is flip that round. So every conversation that you have, you're going onto it expecting a yes, and the no being quite a surprise. And if you've got the right process, follow the stuff that I've spoken about in this video and also previous ones that I've done, you should be able to start developing that confidence and self-belief in what you do, to a point where the moment you have a conversation with somebody is really a point where you're just taking an order, because you've done all the practical steps to a point where they've realized that they need what it is that you do as a business. And I think that is the real magic source of this. Having conviction, having self-belief, having confidence in what you do is what's going to separate you from where you may be right now to your full potential as a business owner. Social selling is not a difficult concept to understand. However, there are steps that you need to master. And inside of that link, you'll find out even more on how you can go about doing that. Please make sure that you are subscribed, because I'd like to think this is quite valuable to you. And hit that like button if this has been helpful for you. And leave any comments in the below with any questions that you've got, any advice that you need. If you want to have a conversation with us around your strategy, we do them for free, no obligation, nothing to then go on to afterwards. We're just offering free advice to people. If it's helpful, then drop a comment down below. I will see you all in the next episode. Peace.